Okay, in this video we're going to look at how to use Flows or Power Automate, as it's now called, and Teams, so that in a school setting, when a student submits an assignment or uploads a file to a folder, you get an email notification. So this is a bit of a sort of a brute force sort of hack around. Ideally, in the assignments tab, you'd love to get a notification in Teams automatically when a student handed in work, but that doesn't seem to be a feature at this point. However, we can get Power Automate to detect when a file has been created in a folder in SharePoint behind the scenes and then send us an email. Because remember, Teams is basically a skin or a front end for SharePoint. So we're going to go into Power Automate, or what used to be called Flows. So you can go flow.microsoft.com, sign in with your account that's linked to your SharePoint, and we're going to click Create, and we're going to create an automated flow. So it is triggered by a designated event. So when something happens, in this case it's going to be when a file is created. So I'm just going to put the little example up. So when a file is created, we're going to check if it's a folder, because otherwise if I upload 5 or 6 files, we're going to get an email for each one. So how the assignments feature works is that behind the scenes, each time an assignment is handed in, a new version of all those files are kept. So you actually got a record of all those different versions. So we're going to check if a new folder is created. If it is, we're going to basically get my profile and send me an email. And there's going to be some other details in there. So let's start out with our automated flow, and let's just call it assignment submitted. And the thing to note is that you're going to need to create a different flow for each of your teams, because each one is stored in its own SharePoint. At the moment, there's no easy way to basically get a flow that will work for across teams or across different SharePoint like collections. So what we want to have is using SharePoint. So we're going to have when a file is created. So we're just going to search for SharePoint and file. So we've got when a file is created, properties only. So we're going to use that one. And we're going to choose what team, what site we're going to use. So what SharePoint site. So I'm going to pick out one of these. So I haven't, where's 10. So let's look at Living Digital Technology. So I'm just going to use that one for an example. Choose that. Choose the library name. Now, once you've got an assignment, you probably have to actually have one assignment actually created and maybe something handed in. I'm not sure if this is going to appear on an empty class. So we're going to choose student work and then choose the folder. So we're going to work through that. So I'm going to go into the student work folder. I'm going to choose the submitted files folder, because inside that is basically a folder with all of the different student names and then the projects. So now we're going to add a new step. This is where we're going to have our condition. Okay. So we're going to search for a condition. So you can see here we've got our condition, and we're going to choose a value. We've got a bunch of dynamic content at this point, and we want to look for is folder. So when folder is equal to, and this returns a Boolean value, true, false. So we're going to, if it's a true, do something. Now, we're not going to worry about anything for the no, because we don't want it to actually run if it's not a folder. So we're going to now add an action, and we want to get my profile. And we're going to use the V2 for that one. And if we just have a look, now selected fields, we're going to get the given name. So we're going to use the dynamic content here. And their mail. So we're just going to hide that. So we're just getting their details from our Exchange server. Now we're going to now add an action. We're now going to send an email. So let's just look for that. And because we're an Office 365 client, we're going to use the Office 365 version. So we're going to use send an email. And 2, we're going to add some dynamic content, and we're just going to use the mail details. Now in the subject, this is where it gets quite useful. So this is what you want to move up here. I find quite often useful in here is to put the name of the team for this assignment. So in this case it was for my 11DTC 41. So I'm going to put that in the subject. Now this will change. There's no real easy way to basically be able to pull out the name of a SharePoint site. And I'm going to have so assignment was handed in. And I can also actually get some more dynamic content, and I can actually put the file name with the extension on there as well. Now, in the body, we're going to put our information. So we might put some other details. I might say I want, once again, we're going to use a fair bit of this dynamic content. The folder path, so basically where it is. Oh, I actually want to be doing this in code view, because I'm going to actually make a hyperlink here. So I'm going to have work submitted, and let's put a couple of breaks in there, and we're going to make a hyperlink equals set of quote marks in here, and we're going to get link to item using dynamic content. Set of speech marks, close that tag, put a description of it, so I'm going to use that file name with extension again, and then close the link. And that is it. So now if I save that, I'm now just going to run the flow checker. That seems to be running, and then we can go through and run a test. Now you can click on the test button and get it to run through with these sort of conditions. So we can see here what it had is it got the profile, it outputted those details, and it sent an email through to myself, and using basically my sort of login connection there, and it sent that email. Now if I quickly go and look at, so what you see is there's an email. No problem with this one is it does basically say send the email from your own account, but we've got the team it came from, what assignment was, and we can see the student work location, name of the student in there, and what its location is, so the name of that assignment and what version it is. If I click on that link, it'll take me to the SharePoint site with that student's work. But you often will probably just from that section go off into Teams, go into your assignments, and now you can find the work from in there. So you can go in and see, what work's been submitted and so on. Hope you found that useful. So it is probably one of the biggest sort of time advantages that I've actually found is being able to get these automatic notifications, because otherwise I've had to dig through all the individual assignments, and now I've got a record of which student handed in the work in what order, and so I can, mark the student's work that's been there for the longest amount of time. So it's just a bit more equity to the students by, whoever hands in the work earliest gets their work sort of marked, and it means I can keep a track of it. And you can also set up rules in Outlook to basically get those to forward into different locations, but that is enough for this section.